And we are live back again for another Pigskin Fridays on Proline TV as we end another week of football talk here with Jim Feist and Mark Lawrence. I'm host Greg DePalma. How's it going, guys? Good to see you again as usual.
Top of the world. I even got a Christmas tree growing in my background. See that?
That's what I thought I saw there, Jim, a Christmas tree. I like that. I like that. That's got to be a Roz thing, I'm going to guess, right?
Well, you can believe that, yes.
Chris, is that? I used to think I thought that the history was you set those up on Thanksgiving, but you do it on Halloween.
You know, I'd keep it up all year long if it was up to me.
Yeah, I know, right? So when taking it down is a bummer.
Yeah, it's more depressing. I like having it. I like having it there.
Yeah.
Here, let me tell you guys this real quick little story about that, Christmas trees. When I was a kid growing up, very, very poor, and my father was an alcoholic and didn't want to do a whole lot of extra things. So he would always get a Christmas tree. We had our Christmas tree up, and he would never, ever take it down. Not because he didn't want to, because he was at the bar, okay?
Okay.
So we got on him, my mother and I, my sister, we all got him. Says, Dad, you've got to get rid of this tree. And he worked at a garage, an auto mechanic he was. So we were going to put the tree on the front lawn, but it was mid-April, and it wouldn't look right, a Christmas tree on the front lawn in mid-April. But we had to do it, so thank God they picked it up. That's all I can say.
That's funny.
Yes.
Does that mean that the Christmas tree was up in the house in April?
Yes, it was.
Wow. At that point, you might as well just hold on to it till Christmas again.
Well, the thing about, but back then that had to be a real tree.
It was a real tree, and the pine needles were everywhere. Yes,
that had to be falling apart totally.
Yes, it was. My mother would keep I don't know, not bleaching it, but whatever you would do to kind of ingest some life into it. But it only lasted so long. I can assure you. That was it.
The one behind me there is not a real tree.
Oh, it's not.
No. Well, you know, they're a mess, and they're a fire hazard and all that stuff. But I mean, it is what it is.
Yes, it is.
Times have changed.
All right. So one game in the book for week number 9 in the NFL, and we've got a full slate on Sunday. Of course, we've also got Monday, but we're back to a regular kind of normal schedule, even though they will be returning overseas. I think, what is that, next week? I think they return next week or the next couple of weeks to Germany, I believe. It might be the next stop. But just one Monday night game, no Sunday morning game. So it's a full slate on Sunday, and we're going to go over 3 games while we have Jim here for the first segment. And we're going to start with Atlanta and New England. And a lot of injury concerns for the Falcons, not so much for the Patriots. I'm sure that's a big reason why they're also on a hot streak. They're 5-0 straight up and against the spread in their last 5, 6-2 on the season. And the Falcons, just a couple of starts ago, after their win over Buffalo, everybody was talking about, this is Atlanta Falcon team. Look out for the Falcons. We heard the same thing last year. And then since then, the Falcons have dropped 2 straight, and they've lost their quarterback. And looks like Michael Penix, though, Jim, is coming back again. That's so far the latest I've heard. It's a little early. I don't know. Probably should have some news today. We'll look it up here before we move on to see if he's definitely going to start. But it does look like Penix is going to get back to action, Jim. And that's good news because the Falcons have some key players banged up that they're hoping to get back on Sunday. And if they do get back on Sunday, I actually like the Falcons in the spot. They're a more desperate team. They do not want to fall to 3-5. They do have Indianapolis next week, as I see here, in Germany. So that is the game that's going to go back to Germany. It's the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm going to go ahead and take the Falcons in this one, plus the 6. And I think the money line may not be a bad idea, too. Jim?
If I would agree taking Atlanta. I just don't think the price is right.
Really?
I think, hey, that's enough. My dog is barking, and he probably doesn't agree with you or me. I'm not sure who, because we're on I'm not going to lay New England, but I think Atlanta needs to be getting more points with all the injuries that they have and with how hot the Patriots are. I would have to get 6 or more, maybe even
Okay.
7. I wouldn't be taking them at this price.
Well, I like the fact that Penix is coming back for this team, and go backwards and look at their schedule here. They haven't really done a whole lot wrong other than their last game, and that was without Penix. The game before that, the loss was against San Francisco, a 10-point loss at Frisco, and they allowed the Niners just 324 yards. They got beat only 20 yards on the football playing field. So nothing bad at all about that game other than the scoreboard itself. Now, with Penix being back, I think this could be the time for the shot in the arm for the Falcons. As Greg mentioned, they don't want to slip to an ugly record here. And you've also got in New England here a football team that is surging, playing some really, really good football. But I have to ask myself, a team that hasn't been here in a long, long time and they're surging right now, how long does this last with New England? They're coming off a win over the mighty Cleveland Browns last week, over the mighty Tennessee Titans the week before, and the knockout New Orleans Saints the week before. They have 3 wins against the 3 cupcakes of the league. So I think it's a little bit misleading in the sense that I think the Patriots could be a tad full of themselves. And if you got a hungry Falcon team, I'm going to take the points.
Yeah, it does look like, from what I've seen reported, that a majority of their key injured players who have missed at least 1 or 2 games are all going to return. That's Michael Penix, that's Mooney, that's London. On defense, you got Bates, Harrison, Walker. You got the backup tackle Storm Norton, who actually is a big that was a big injury against the Dolphins because they were down to their 3rd string tackle and the Dolphins just chewed him up. So getting Storm Norton back is big. So the Falcons are as healthy going into this game, it looks like, that they've been in a few weeks. And again, as desperate as they are, they've lost the last 2 by a 54-20 margin. Next week, by the way, for the Patriots at Tampa Bay. So they got a big matchup with the Bucs coming off the bye. So it looks like anything on the over, Jim? Total?
You know, this is the kind of game where you're not knowing what kind of shape they're in. Like last night, we saw Lamar come back off of an injury. And the question was, what kind of shape is he going to be in? Well, he didn't run very much. It was obviously he was trying not to re-pull that hamstring, but he played very well. And of course, they dominated a pathetic team in Miami. But you know, in these kind of situations, it's so hard. Everything's a crapshoot. But here's what I look at: the game opened 2.5. That means the odds makers looked at this game and said, Atlanta
2.5.
Yeah, it opened 2.5. That's what I got. Now I could have laid New England 2.5 legitimately for a lot of money because I got a lot of outs and I got the early number. It immediately jumped to 5.5. Immediately. So, and when it does that at that time of the week, that means it's a lot of sharp, big player money. It's not not John Q. Public. So I have to respect that. For them to raise the number from 2.5 to 5.5 is they were giving Atlanta a lot of respect, obviously, and they knew, like you know now, that some people are potentially coming back. So I don't like going against that kind of thing. So I just don't know what to do with it. So I'm going to just pass.
So again, the total, nothing on the total.
No, the total is 45 open, 17 under 17 open, and it's 44.5, 45 now. So it really hasn't moved at all. I think Atlanta's the better team. I think they're more consistent. I like the way Drake May's playing. Penix,
You're talking about the Patriots, the better team.
Patriots are a better team. Excuse me. Drake May is playing the best of all the 2-year quarterbacks. Penix has been in and out, up and down. I'd have to question his road games. I just don't have a real good feel for this game. And
okay.
The one thing, the bookmaker has to take action on every game. I don't have to take action on every game.
Let's go to the next game, and that is and this is a big game too. This is Denver and Houston. And we talked about last week what a big homestand this was for Houston, and they got off to a great start with their win over San Francisco. They now get to play the red-hot Denver Broncos, another team that comes in on a 5-game winning streak. And Houston is sort of like Atlanta, the 3-4, and they're facing a team that's 6-2. So we get the same setups, 3-4 against 6-2, and we know which team is the most dialed in and really needing this one, and that's Houston for sure. That doesn't always guarantee wins, but that's just the case. Houston will wrap up their homestand with Jacksonville next week and then go to Tennessee. So it just shows you what a big game this could be for Houston. They can win this game, go back-to-back against San Francisco and Denver before they play Jacksonville and Tennessee. That could really boost the rest of their season. Denver, meanwhile, no Patrick Surtain, so that's a big loss for their defense. They'll be playing the Las Vegas Raiders on Thursday night this week, and then they will host the Kansas City Chiefs. So a couple of big division games coming up for the Denver Broncos, who are 1-1 straight up, 1-0-1 against the spread this year as a road dog, including the last time they went on the road in their win over the defending Super Bowl champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. Mark, what do you think about Denver and Houston?
Well, there's not a lot of bad things you can say about the Denver Broncos this season. I think they've sort of overachieved or met their expectations. They're coming in here in a 5-game win streak, won the yards in all 5 of those football games. So what they're doing is true. They've earned everything they've got. But I'm a little bit more to the Houston side of this football game here, and I think they're a little bit of a semi-sleeper team, if you will. Look at the Texans this year. 6 times they played teams where they've held opponents to season low or second low yards. It's a very, very good sneaky defense here for Houston coming into this football game. And they've also been involved in 4 one-score games. They were all losses, but they've been involved in 4 one-score games, which shows that they have the ability to keep this thing close, and whoever scores last wins those kind of types of games. I'm going to be with Houston in this football game. I think Denver comes back to earth against a pretty tough under-the-radar defense in Houston.
Jim, I know you liked San Francisco against Houston last week, and they laid a big egg. But the Denver Broncos are even hotter. Yet you do wonder, even though they had a big win last week over Dallas, they didn't have to worry about no fourth-quarter dramatics last week. They had some crazy back-to-back wins against the Jets and Giants and kind of got back into the real way of winning as a winning team in disposing of the Cowboys before the fourth quarter even began. But now they got to go on the road here to a desperate team as a short dog. What do you think about the matchup?
It really doesn't bother me one way or another if they're favored or dog. It's a very low total, lowest total of the week, 39.5, 40. I had a lot of leans towards Denver initially when this came out. I like their pass rush. I like the fact that they can get after Stroud. Stroud is not good under pressure. San Francisco was not able to put pressure on him last week, and Houston dominated time of possession and really dominated that game. It was never close, even though it was not a high-scoring game. But there's a lot of reasons to go with what Mark said. They're very, very good on defense. At home, Denver has a lot of reasons to be looking ahead to other things. Coming off their wins, they could actually come up with a flat spot. Nix has not been a consistently good quarterback. He's been occasionally a really good quarterback. So he could have a flat spot as well. There's a lot of people lining up on Houston, but there's not been a lot of movement on it, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to stay away from the game. I don't really have a good feel for it. I hate to keep passing, but that's what I got. I got reasons to play both sides, but I kind of initially I like Denver. Right now I'd lean to Houston, but so I'm just going to stay away from it.
Yeah, big addition for the Houston Texans. They get Nico Collins back, one of the best receivers in football. That was a big loss to not have him around, but then they were still able to come through last week. They got a big boost from their rookie receivers, including Higgins, their top rookie receiver. And that was definitely a big reason why they were able to move the football a little bit, even without Collins. But getting Collins back without Patrick Surtain, that's a definite advantage that Houston probably didn't think that they'd get, but now they will. We'll see if they can take advantage of it. Okay. Anything on the total? Because it's only 39 and a half.
One of our commenters, DBK, he said Denver was originally -1.5, so that's a 3-point swing. I never saw that number. I did see pick. So it has whatever money has come in. It has come in on Houston. I'm not going to bet it under, but I'd have to lean that way because these two defenses could shut each other down. So I would lean, but I'm not going to. Maybe if the game goes, if it goes to 41, that would make it. That's a live number. 41 would be a number I would. And FanDuel is at 40.5. So if I got 41, I would probably go under in this spot.
Yeah, these are two defenses, Jim, that are certainly playoff caliber defenses.
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
yes,
hooking up in a football game like this.
Yes.
Let's take a look at our last game, and it happens to be a Sunday night matchup between Seattle and Washington. And it's interesting that I'm just guessing that the line, because it never changed, that Vegas put the line in already assuming that Daniels was going to be playing. And even with Daniels playing, Seattle is a 3-point road favorite. And boy, the Seattle Seahawks are definitely getting a lot of respect from Vegas, and deservedly so. I mean, they're playing some really good football. They have one of the best defensive teams in the league. And that was without a very banged up secondary over the last several weeks. And right now, it looks like from everything we're hearing, they are going to have many of those banged up DBs back in this game. They had the week off that did them well. So they're going to be as complete as a defense personnel-wise that they've had almost all season. And that's a scary thought because as much as everybody talks about, Sam Darnold has had another nice season, really what makes this team go is their defense. They have a really good underrated defense. It's starting to look like, the old Seattle defenses that used to scare teams back in the day, the Legion of Boom and so forth. And that's what Mike McDonald was brought there to do. And to add a quality quarterback, that's definitely helped them out as well. So they're a 3-point favorite here, Jim. They will be taking on Arizona next week at home and the Rams on the road. So a couple of big division games coming up for Seattle. They're 2-0 straight up and against the spread as a road favorite this year. Washington 3-5 on the season. This is starting to get a little scary now for Commander fans. Big matchup for them on Sunday night. Who do you like?
What do your sources say about Daniels?
That he'll play.
Okay.
I'm hearing the same thing, yes.
About 2 hours ago, the screen lit up, and all the totals went from 47 to 48.5, and I'm talking about everywhere. When that happens, that's not Joe Public. That's a syndicate, and they're hitting every book they can with a lot of money to make the totals go up like that. And it went from 47 to 48.5. And only one place is backed off to 48, actually two, MGM also. But so I figured that was an assurance that Daniel's going to play. Tough spot. I mean, road favorite, Sunday night football, home team, kind of thing where I don't want to be involved in that aspect of it, but I do want to be involved with the over. I do believe both these teams are going to score points. As long as the weather, and you have to check the weather, it's too early to know for sure, but I would believe that the weather will be okay. So I'm going over in this game.
Mark?
Well, I think it's a really tough handicap because a lot of everything that we're talking about is pending upon Jaden Daniels, and we don't know what Jaden Daniels we're going to get in this football game. Whenever a quarterback, of his caliber comes off of an injury, they're obviously not 100%. We saw that with Lamar Jackson Thursday night. Not that he played a bad game, but he didn't play a Lamar Jackson game. In fact, the best prop in the game was probably him under rushing yards because of his physical condition. You might see a little bit of the same thing here with Jaden Daniels, just being a little bit subpar per se. The one thing that jumps out to me in this football game is how well Seattle has played on the road under their head coach, Mike McDonald. Last year, they won 7 of the 8 games straight up. This year, they're 3-0 straight up and against the spread on the road. This team always had a real great home-road dichotomy. It heavily favored the home and was really bad on the road. And it's completely changed since McDonald has taken over with this program here. And there's nothing you can shoot a hole at Seattle, what they've done so far this football season here. Yes, they played a clunker against Frisco in the first game of the season, a 4-point loss, but they were murdered 150 yards on the field. Every game they played thereafter has been clean. Win the game, win the stats, win the yards, hold 2 opponents to season-low yardage marks. This is a real tough game for me as well. Jim's sort of passing, semi-passing. I think he's going to kind of want to ferret out what happens from a total standpoint of where this thing goes. I'm going to beg out of it also here. I'd hate to pass on a game that was one of our featured games, but I don't know if I want to step in front of that Seattle road freight train here right now with a question mark quarterback that I don't know his condition and what it will be.
Yeah, a couple of conflicting trends for Washington.
A note there that, a couple of weeks ago, Seattle hosted Houston, that super defense that we talked about and how good they are. But their offense wasn't clicking, and Seattle's defense held them down pretty well.
Season low, Jim, 254 yards. Yes, right. They did. Yep.
So, I mean, they're playing well. They're well coached. Darnold is playing. I mean, this guy has had a change of life, man, in the last couple of years. Playing very well. But it's really hard to lay 3 points in a game like this. But I respect that move that I saw a couple hours ago. And I think if you can get 48, I think it's an over bet. I think Darnold will be good enough. But, that when I say that, I have to say it with reservation because Seattle's defense is not really to be taken lightly.
No.
And McLaurin is probably going to be out. And they haven't been super sharp this year. So I don't know. It's there was an overreaction to that. 48's a big number, although there's a lot of points being scored these days. It's really kind of a marginal. Yes, let's play the over. I'm kind of marginally going to go that way, but I'm not going to go heavy.
Well, what you said, Jim, Seattle 68 yards, the worst of the defense between these two teams, and McLaurin's out for the football game. That doesn't give you a whole lot to hang your hat on if you're making a case for Washington in the contest. Right. And it's also a Washington football team that you knew coming into the season there would be a regression off of what they did last year, the surprise they had, the outstanding season Jaden Daniels had as a rookie, and you knew there was going to be sophomore blues regression. We're seeing it. We're seeing it maybe a little bit more in the form of injuries, but nonetheless, Washington is going to regress this football season. It's tough to step in front of Seattle in this game.
If you want to talk about another game because we passed so much.
Well, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
There's a couple of things to keep in mind, and that is, this is the thing. I liked Seattle, but I just didn't like the fact that they're 1-5 against the spread, coming off a bye. And also, this was a big trend that you can find in the Playbook magazine. The Commanders have covered 8 straight as a home dog of 3 or less when they take on the opposition with a win percentage of 600 or better. So a couple of things that kind of scared me off, and it is a 3-point road favorite against a desperate team. But Seattle's the better team. The only thing is I am a little bit worried about that bye number. Sometimes it's only, look, this coach has only been around for a year. So I don't really worry about, and those are Pete Carroll's teams for the other 5 games. So sometimes that could be a little bit overblown. What did you want to go to? What game do you want to go to, Jim?
Well, I know we passed on a couple of games, and I'm sure that doesn't make the listeners real happy. But if there's something else that we could talk about.
Did you have a pick? You got to give us a pick anyways. You have a game for a pick you want to go over? Give us a game.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Let me look.
And it can't be a game we talked about yesterday.
I don't remember what we talked about.
Yeah, right.
You know how many shows I do a week? I can't remember what I talked about.
All right. I'll give you games we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about the Chargers, Tennessee. We haven't talked about Carolina, Green Bay. We haven't talked about San Francisco Giants, Bears, Bengals, Saints, Rams, Jaguars, Raiders, and Cardinals, Cowboys.
Okay. Well, Cincinnati's a simple one. If we know Burrow's playing, and I just got off the phone.
Flacco.
Yeah, Flacco. Yeah, I wish it was Burrow, but I just got off the phone with people I have back in Cincinnati, and they're still not sure whether he's going to go or not. If he's playing, and if we can find that out, if he's playing, it's an absolute over, no question. But I do not know, and I don't trust the backup. The second backup. This is Flacco's the third backup. But
well, let me ask you about that line, though, because again, Vegas doesn't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows if Flacco is going to play. And because of that, I'm really surprised that the Bengals are almost a 3-point home dog to the Bears. I'm sorry, but with Joe Flacco at quarterback, if he plays this game and I can get points in this game, I just don't understand it. I mean, what am I missing here?
Well, you have to look at your favorite team, the Jets, who hadn't been able to win, ended up winning last week at the Bengals. The Bengals don't know how to win. That's the problem.
And the reason is they don't know how to play defense. They're last in the league in scoring and last in the league in overall defense.
Well, the Bears have not been a road favorite since the 2021 season.
Well, that tells you how bad Cincinnati's playing, right?
Yeah, and that's why I'd like to take advantage of anytime I see a college or NFL team that hasn't been like a road favorite, especially in years. It's something they're not used to, and I love taking against those. I love betting against those teams.
You know, we Victor and I talked about it a little bit. This is a top and bottom team. You got some B teams and you got some D teams. It's almost like you have no A teams and no C teams, and these two kind of fit into the D team category, although one may be a D plus and the other might be a D minus. But there's a lot of junk in this league, and after 7-8 games, we now know that they're not B teams, and there's no A's, so they're not B's, would B minus, B straight up, or B pluses. These two teams fit near the bottom. I can't depend on them. I can't trust them. Caleb Williams is still a question mark. He's really good on scripted plays, though. He comes out on that scripted play stuff. He's up and down the field, and he's scoring and doing really well. And they've been really good on going over their team total. So that's the one thing I know about. But not knowing who the quarterback is on the other side, it's hard to make a play. Now, you know, here's Atlanta. Not Atlanta, but Carolina. They did not have their starting quarterback last week. And the Red Rifle is the Red Pistol now. He's not a rifle anymore. He's done. So, but they have a hell of a running game. They can put the running game together with some semblance of decency at quarterback. They're dangerous. That's a team that I can sit back and say, hey, give me 13.5. They just come off a big game with Pittsburgh. Next week, they got to play the Eagles, which is a look-ahead game, easily a look-ahead game. You're going to play the champions, and you want to be a champion, so you want to beat the champion. So that could be a game where if they can get the ball running, I mean, they have a couple good running backs, and they can put up some numbers.
Well, the problem that they have here is the matchup, because the Packers have one of the better run defenses in football. And Carolina wasn't able to run the football much last week. They got and really that game did not get blown out until the second half. So when they start stepping up in competition, that's when I really want to see how good their run team is, because they haven't really played a lot of good teams. And so now they're playing one of the better teams in the NFL, the number 1 seed right now. I think they are right in the NFC. That run defense is that's just a bad matchup right now. I think the one thing, and you talked about it, I think briefly yesterday, or I forget. I think it might have been even on the show you did on the Las Vegas show on Wednesday regarding the sandwich situation here. That would be the one thing to keep in mind, is the fact that they're coming off that Pittsburgh game, and then they got to take on the Eagles next week.
That's right. That would be the biggest reason I would probably. That and the fact they're capable of running the ball, and Young can actually do some damage if he has some support from a running game. And to add to that, Green Bay's not mentally ready to play this low-level team when they got the Eagles on deck. I mean,
that's an Eagles team that took them out of the playoffs last year, by the way. So they're coming there.
Right. I mean, Mark, what do you think of that? You think Carolina can stand up?
I think they can stand up here. I think they're really quietly improved, and I think they're quietly under the radar here. Liam Cohen, their head coach, has done a terrific job with this team, moving them forward. Bryce Young's looking better than he ever has. He has to, because he couldn't have looked any worse his first year. But he's beginning to show signs that he is a National Football League quarterback. I think this is an ideal spot for Carolina to get in here and get out with the money here. You're talking 13 points to an improving football team with the other football team that's got a lot of other issues. Not talking injuries, or I'm talking scheduling issues here for Green Bay. And this could be a prime letdown spot for the Packers. I think Carolina's a nice play on the card this week.
Another team that I questioned this in the offseason. Greg and I talked about it in the offseason. And Minnesota put a lot of their whole year in J.J. McCarthy's hands, thinking that he was capable of delivering and coming out there as a real active rookie. And he played 8 quarters, and 7 of those quarters looked like he was.
Yeah, I can't wait for Sunday so we have more 4 quarters from J.J. McCarthy. We need more. We got to get over this. This has been talked about so much now. I just can't wait. Even if he doesn't play well, I just can't wait for him.
You're taking it personally because
I just want him to get out because it's just
so much.
No, it's just the fact that I just want him to get more play. Like I said, even if he doesn't do well, I just want there to be more tape because I know any young quarterback that has promise is going to start looking better the more tape he gets. And so, yeah, I just, and look, he can have a terrible game, and then we'll talk about that and talk about how the Vikings are in big trouble because he's not ready. But yeah, they put all their eggs into that basket. We did talk about that on yesterday's show. So if you want to find out the games we talked about yesterday, make sure you check out the Playbook ATS podcast. The link is in the description of this video. That includes the game between Pittsburgh and the Colts. So we did talk about that game. Check it out. That was the show yesterday. Did you make a pick on this game, by the way, Jim? Are you taking Detroit? I forgot.
I favor Detroit in the game. Yes.
Okay. So even the spread, you're okay. You're going to give up the 8.
Even though you don't want me talking about them, the Jets or WNBA.
No, I don't want you to talk about J.J. McCarthy.
You have sensitivity issues.
Did J.J. McCarthy go to Rutgers? Did he play at Rutgers any at all, Greg?
No, he played here.
Okay.
He's wearing. See, this is what I'm running into. He has Jets hat on yesterday, a Michigan hat on today. I mean, what are you going to
do? Give us a pick, Jim, before you leave. Come on, what do you got for us? Give us a free pick from Jim Feist.
A free pick.
Anything you like. Anything.
Well, there's a lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff. I'm gonna go with Jacksonville Jags, Las Vegas Raiders under.
Wow. Okay. And why is that?
Because they both stink.
Good reason.
I like that.
43.5.
44. Got to get 44. That's a very live number.
And Jags
How about
coming
that?
off.
They both stink.
That's as good as a reason as
nice
I've heard.
Three-word analysis. They both stink.
Yes. They're both coming off a bye. I'm not sure if that's going to be a good thing. And this is actually the first time the Jags were a road favorite this year under Liam Cohen. Check this trend out. Conflicting trend. Actually works for the Raiders if you want to go that route. The Raiders are 4-0-1 against the spread versus an opponent coming off a bye, while the Jags are 1-10 against the spread when they take on an opponent coming off a bye.
Wow.
So those trends favor the Raiders. They're getting 3. Jim says, fuck the spread and go with the total because they both suck at 44. is what Jim is
I
getting.
can't see Jacksonville favored over anybody. Honestly.
I know.
And I
The way
got to
they're
correct
playing.
myself, guys. Here, I mentioned about Carolina improving under Liam Cohen. It's not that; it's David Gonzalez, it's Canales, who's they've really showed improvement under. Jacksonville with Cohen is going to do a nice job, but it's Canales that's doing a nice job with Carolina.
Yeah. Oh, and you can also get this, by the way. Where else? The Playbook football preview guide, and it still has a half a season left in the NFL and a ton of more big games, including the college football playoffs in college. So if you haven't ordered it yet, what are you waiting for? Bryce Young, 0-11 straight up in his career, 3-7-1 against the spread versus winning teams. So
Okay, so I gave you my play. What about you guys? What play do you have?
Mark, you got to play the
Yeah,
week
I'll
NFL?
give you a play that I like. I like the Arizona Cardinals against Dallas Monday night.
Oh,
This is an Arizona football team that has not given up on the season. They've got Kyler Murray coming back, which has to be a big boost to them, at least emotionally, if not physically. And every one of their games they played this year have been one-score games. They've won 2 of them, and all 5 of their losses have been one-score games. I don't see them letting this game get out of control against a Dallas team who has the worst defense in the National Football League. I like Arizona plus the points, and if they win the game, I am not going to be surprised.
and if you're going to take Dallas in this game, just because, like Mark said, you better take the money line at -148. I mean, Jim has said this repeatedly, and I've lived by that just because of Jim's prophetic and wise words regarding the money line as a favorite, as a short favorite. And this is the great excuse to do that because, as you said, Mark, Arizona has lost 5 straight games this year by a total of 13 points, which means every point matters. So even if Arizona loses, don't think that they might not lose by 2 or 1 because they've done it before. So take the money line on Dallas. If you want to take the Cowboys, Arizona's 11-1 against the spread versus the NFC East since 2019. And the Dallas Cowboys are America's team, and they're proving it once again because they have 5 primetime games in the next 8 weeks.
Oh, Jesus.
How about that? The Dallas Cowboys.
Well, at least you'll see a lot of points.
Yeah, it would be exciting games. Yes. Thank goodness for that.
It's a good another way to look at it, yes.
Running back situation for Arizona was pretty bleak. They lost 2 guys. What's their status?
Yeah, they're not getting right now. They got this kid Knight, who's not a bad young running back. He actually came into the league with the Jets, went to Detroit, got lost behind those 2 really top guys, got picked up by Arizona. Now with the injury, he has his chance. So he's a pretty good player, but he's not Benson, and he's obviously not James Conner either. So that's what they have. They have Bam Knight. That's his nickname. And they'll have him, and that's about it. So they don't have much else behind him. I mean, the other kid, Del Mercado, is more of a third down back. I don't know whether he's playing or not. He's not a difference maker anyway.
Kyler Murray's likely the leading rusher for Arizona in this game.
Yeah, it's probably true.
Yeah, and he better be the leading passer too. It's interesting because just noting fantasy-wise, on my fantasy team, my fantasy league, I noticed one of the owners dropped Trey McBride, one of the top tight ends in the NFL. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll pick him up. And I looked on his stats, and I said, well, it must be a reason. But I noticed his stats, and I guess he picked him up because Kyler Murray's coming back. Because in the last 2 weeks, with Kyler Murray gone, McBride had his best stats of the year. It's when he had. So I don't know why Kyler Murray can't seem to get the ball to Trey McBride. I mean, you have a weapon, a tight end like Trey McBride. You've got to get him the ball.
He can't see them.
It's probably
That's literally true. Yes.
Yes. So Jacoby Brissett is like a foot taller.
He's a much bigger man, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, Jim. Appreciate your time as always. Next week, it'll be week 10 in the NFL, if you can believe it. A few weeks away before the holidays pick up, and we have a big Thanksgiving. We're going to have to probably do that show on a Wednesday, I would guess. You have your restaurant show will still be on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we'll have to figure something out. You might have to take that week off if we do it on a Wednesday. But that's a few more weeks from now, as we will be talking next week when it's November, Jim. And don't forget to change your clock on Saturday night.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Jim, I'll probably reach out over the weekend here. If we don't happen to connect, I'm going to wish you the best of luck. And if we do, we'll talk about that.
All right. Good luck,
All right.
guys.
All right.
Take care, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
All right. There you go. Jim Feist, Mark Lawrence, Greg DePalma. We're the partners here together every Friday on ProLine TV. And now it's time to talk some college football, Mark. And again, we did talk some college football on the Playbook ATS podcast show yesterday. Once again, link in the description for that. And also a link in the description where you can check out Jim and his show at the restaurant, Dom DeMarco's. A couple of special guests this week included Scott Pritchard. So you can check that out every Wednesday right here on ProLine TV. And that really, we're starting things now. I've moved my Wednesday schedule to Tuesday. So really and Mark, have we started that part of the schedule yet where we're going to have like a game every day of the week now that there are Tuesday games in college football? Isn't there like a time of the year when there's like you go like 60 days of nonstop football, at least one game?
Oh yeah. Well, you talk about nonstop football. Yeah, there is. And it's going to be coming up here real soon. We're probably inched into it right now because we're in the Tuesday football, as you said. So we had Tuesday, we had Wednesday, we got Thursday, we got Friday, we got Saturday. We're just waiting for a Sunday matchup to occur.
In college, you mean? Oh,
yes, in college. Yes.
We don't want to see that, but yeah. So anyway, so I'll be doing my previews on Tuesday nights, and then on Wednesdays, Jim is at the restaurant at Dom DeMarco's. And then on Thursdays, it's the Playbook ATS podcast. And then our show here on Fridays. So 4 straight weeks, 4 straight days, every day, Tuesday through Friday, we have a handicapping show for either the NFL or college football. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, if you hit that link on the bottom of the text message board, that is a little design of a $sign. That's where you can donate to the channel. You can send us a text message, and that's basically called like a super thanks. You can call it a super chat, any of those things. And anything that comes in, and we had a donation yesterday from Smarty Jones. Any of those donations we use for expenses here on the channel, because we have a lot of things we're going to be looking to improve here on the channels, including where we're going to be hiring an editor real soon. And so that's just so you know, that's where the money goes. And that'll make the productions a lot more fun and entertaining for you guys. And also all this content is for free. And the more we can keep it to free, the better. Let's talk some college football, Mark. And we have a few games we want to go over. And I also want to check out some of the conferences. And we'll do that as we move along, starting with the SEC. And we got that rivalry game between Georgia and Florida. Of course, they used to call it the largest outdoor cocktail party. They don't call that anymore?
Oh, well, officially they don't, because it's been deemed, like a bad way to talk about promoting alcohol for kids in school.
Yeah.
But still, everybody that knows the rivalry, knows the matchup, knows this is the world's greatest outdoor cocktail party.
Yes. I mean, it's better than, I guess, the Red River Shootout, which is no longer called the Red River Shootout. So
yeah, because of the shootout, the guns and everything.
Yeah. That's why we no longer have a basketball team called the Washington Bullets. But,
yes.
Now we're going down a different path. Anyway, so here's the SEC standings. And as you can see, any team basically with 2 losses is pretty much done. You're not going to get to the SEC championship game. Which is why the Texas Vanderbilt game is so important. The loser is out. We talked about that game on the Playbook ATS podcast show, so you can check that out. Andy Isco, of course, was in on that as well. If you want to get all of our opinions, well, all 3 of us, including Andy, you can check it out. But Georgia, of course, is still here, and that one loss was an SEC loss to Alabama. Florida, way down here, of course. They fired their head coach, and that was really strange, Mark. I'm not sure if I've ever seen a major program win a game and fire their coach. Very unusual during the season, but that's exactly what Florida did. They went into the bye. They've handled the game over to, and you mentioned that you mentioned Gonzalez, and I know it's a different league, but that's actually the name of the coach who's taking over for the Florida Gators. He's never been a head coach before in any way. I guess this is his shot. He really has no shot unless I guess he does a miraculous job here, including beating the Georgia Bulldogs on Saturday. The spread, I think, is right around 7 points. What do you think about this matchup?
Well, the question is a 2-point home win against Mississippi State a win? I think they'd seen enough. If they got to scrape past a team like Mississippi State, who's not that bad this year, but they're still Mississippi State. Yeah. And there's been a lot of talk about firing him anyway, Billy Napier. So it's just got to be the point where they had to do the math and the numbers and everything to see if they can make the buyout work. And apparently, obviously, they did. So now we're moving on with an interim coach here at Florida. Still the same talent there for Florida. A little bit concerned they're not playing good football. They've been out-yarded in 3 of the last 4 football games. But there's a little stat that comes from the Playbook newsletter this particular week, and it's a pretty neat little stat. Inside this series, the last 12 times Florida and Georgia have met in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And you have Georgia coming in off a straight-up and point spread win. Florida has gone 12-0 against the spread, winning 10 of the games straight up. Right.
Oh, 10-2, 12-0.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And on top of that, the Gators have covered 12 straight as SEC dogs of 2 or more when they take on an opponent off back-to-back straight-up ATS wins.
There you go.
So that's pretty impressive.
There's a lot of trends pointing to Florida in this football game. And I can only look that way. I mean, sure. I'm not going to jump in front of all that. It's still a Georgia football team that has to be respected. I don't know if they're Georgia of the past. No, they've won and covered 3 in a row. But they're still not salting teams away like they used to. They're not intimidating like they used to be. Still, I think the bottom line is the value in the game, and the value to me is the Florida Gators.
Yeah, it's not like they've had like a murderous schedule with Georgia. I mean, they had a tough matchup with Bama, and they lost it. They had a good matchup with Tennessee, and they were a field goal away from losing. But Tennessee missed the field goal. They go to overtime, and they win the game. And really, that you could tell into that game, Tennessee was choking big time, and they sure choked that one away. But thank goodness, because for Georgia fans, because they're still in it. But look, the problem is the defense, especially the pass defense. Now, that may not be a great matchup for Florida because they really do have to run the football. They have a really good running back, the kid Baugh, and that's really the strength of their running game, of their offense. But I kind of liked them too, even before I saw the trends. And when I saw the trends, well, then the chips were all in after I saw the trends, so much so that I think this is even worthwhile for me to just take the outright upset and say that Florida can actually pull it out at plus 235 on the money line. What I do think is interesting, though, in a negative way for Florida, is that in the 4-game winning streak that Georgia has over the Gators in the last 4 years, they've won by a 38-16 margin, and they've been favored by 14 or more in all of those. And now it's down to 7. And again, it's the same location. I think if anything, it just shows you that where Georgia is more than anything. That's proof right there that this is not the same Georgia team.
No, and they've also had the luxury of living the life of Riley at home. 5 of their 7 games have been at home this year. So, they're stepping away, not so much to a visiting site, but away from home. So, that what they've done this year has largely been because they've been camped at home an awful lot.
And I'll give you one last one that works for the Gators. The Georgia Bulldogs have dropped 8 straight covers versus losing teams.
Wow. So, that's a nice stat.
Yeah. All right. So now let's move on. That's the SEC. Let's take a look at, and now we're going to go over some games necessary. By the way, before we move on, who do you like? Who do you think is going to be in the championship game? Will it be the 2 teams up top, Texas A&M and Alabama?
I think it's a little early to tell. I think the cake is still in the oven, if you will, per se, because of who these teams are, the quality of the teams, and they're going to be playing each other and knocking each other off. So,
oh yeah,
So I think a lot remains to be seen. I don't think there's a pure lock stick out per se, if you will. I know a lot of people think Alabama will be there. I don't know if I'm not one of them. I don't think Tennessee will. I think they're a little bit overrated.
No, they're out of it already. They got
Yeah.
2 losses.
Yeah, and they got that faulty defense. But a lot of people do like Alabama here. A lot of people like A&M only because, or largely because, they're undefeated. I don't know if that'll continue or not, but they look to be the 2 logical contenders.
Yeah, Texas A&M. What Texas A&M has going for them is their schedule. So they have a pretty favorable schedule compared to the other teams. Taking a look, they are going to be look. Missouri is next week on their schedule. They got a bye this week, and we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. It could be the freshman. And then they really don't have a tough game again until Texas, the last game of the season. They're rivals. Georgia will be playing Texas. That's coming up. So they're going to be playing each other in 2 weeks. So Georgia still has to play Texas. And also Georgia outside the conference has that really what could be monumental matchup for getting to the playoffs when they take on Georgia Tech. So Georgia Tech, that could be the biggest game in the history of that rivalry.
Yeah, for where these 2 teams are right now. I mean, you would think, one of them was undefeated. You'd think that would have been Georgia, but it's not.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech.
All right, so that's the SEC. As far as the Big Ten, not any games we're necessarily going to talk about, but there you get the 2 favorites up there. And again, just taking a look at the 1-loss teams, USC has a big matchup on the road against Nebraska. We did talk about that game on the Playbook ATS podcast. You can check that out. Iowa, Michigan, and Oregon also with 1 loss. USC will be playing Oregon in a few weeks. Of course, we know Michigan and Ohio State will match up at the end of the year. And Penn State will be taking on both Ohio State and Indiana in the next 2 weeks. Good luck to them for that. All right. And we talked a little bit about that game on the show yesterday too. And here's the ACC. So, and this is also wide open because the interesting thing is you've got the Miami Hurricanes all the way down here at 2-1. And yet most people still would probably put money on that the Hurricanes are going to be in the ACC championship game. They got a huge matchup against SMU on the road. Also, we talked about Georgia Tech. They're road against North Carolina State. That could be a tricky game. Keep in mind that Virginia has only lost 1 game all year. And actually, yeah, didn't Virginia? I'm trying to make sure.
But I want to tell you this, Greg, before you go any further and
Sure.
scoot past Virginia. They're likely the most phoniest team in all of college football this year.
They've won 3 overtime games in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yes. And looking at my stat and logbook, of which I rely heavily on, let me share this with the listeners out there. I'm talking about a Virginia football team that this football season, there we go, has.
Go ahead.
They're coming in here right now on a 6-game win streak. They've been out-yarded in each of the last 4 wins by an average of over 100 yards a game. 3 of those last 4 games, as you mentioned, were overtime victories here. Their wins before this win streak, or not even before this win streak, begin the season, Coastal Carolina, William and Mary, Stanford. This is a very vastly overrated football team, and I think they can get exposed this week at California.
Yeah, Cal, as we know, they're a dangerous team. They've got one of the more exciting freshman quarterbacks in the country. They had a couple of really tough, they had a really tough loss last week on a Friday night against Virginia Tech. That was one of those typical overtime college football outcomes that kill you when you're taking the dog. I had California and 6 in that game. And Virginia Tech is lining up for the field goal at the end of regulation and a tie game. And I had Cal both point spread and money line. So I'm debating before the field goal is going up, do I want him to make it? Because if he makes it, I cover the spread.
Uh-huh.
Or do I want to go all in on the money line? And so I'm like, of course I'm going to be greedy and I want him to miss it. So he misses it and they go to overtime. and Virginia Tech scores a touchdown and goes for 2. This is now a 8-point lead. So if they missed the 2-point conversion, I could basically, I come out of that even. But they make the 2, and then of course Cal does nothing. They can't score at all, and so I go from potentially winning everything to losing everything because of college football overtime. But that was a tough loss for Cal, and now they're at home as a 4-point dog. I don't know if that's still 4. Right now. But Virginia has been really hanging in there. 9 lives. And remember last week, I had North Carolina as the double-digit upset pick, and they lost that game in overtime to Virginia.
Yep.
They went for 2, and I thought that was the right call. I was right with Belichick to go for 2. And look, I like North Carolina tonight. Syracuse is just terrible right now without their quarterback who's been out for about a month. They're just not a good team. And you're starting to see on defense, you're starting to see Bill Belichick's coaching come around. That North Carolina defense is strong. And if he can find himself a quarterback in the offseason in the transfer portal, I'm telling you, North Carolina is going to be a very dangerous team next year. Because and should this really be a surprise that that he's been able to figure out the defense at North Carolina as great as a defensive coordinator as he's always been? So
you're right. And their last 2 losses are 1-score losses. Those are indicators that this team, as you mentioned, is coming on, especially defensively.
Yep. Now, I just noticed this. Now, ESPN of all places, they got this wrong.
What's that?
They have conference record, Virginia 4-0. They're not 4-0. They're 4-1. They lost to North Carolina State. So I'm actually really surprised that they have it. And I remember that because I had
that. Right, exactly.
Yeah, I had a bet on that game. I had Virginia. So that's unusual. Somebody probably forgot that was a week 2 game, because usually conference teams don't play each other week 2. So somehow
they have 4-0 is what they have them?
Yeah.
Okay, well, they have the last 4 games is what they have. Right, exactly.
Yeah, so right now they're 7-1, but it should be
the last 4 conference games, yes.
Yeah, it should be whatever, 4-1, I guess. And overall, they should, whatever the record is. I don't know how they do it over here. Anyway, so that's the ACC. And as far as I don't really like. I can imagine SMU, as DBK wants to ask if he thinks SMU is a live dog. I don't know. I wouldn't call him a live dog. I'd call him interesting. The only reason I don't think they're a live dog is because Miami already has the loss. And I'm just going to be very surprised that Miami's season is going to just completely end on Saturday, which it would. If they lose at SMU, it's over. Everything they've done this season, all the hype, over. And I'm not going to call that, because SMU's team this year is not the team they were last year. And we saw that when they lost to Wake Forest last week. They really haven't. They've had only like 1 or 2 decent games this year. Otherwise, even when they've won games, they haven't looked all that impressive. This is not the same SMU team, and I would just be really, really surprised if Miami season ended on Saturday.
Well, this SMU team, if they do anything well, it's they protect the home turf. They're 17-2 outright the last 19 games. So it's going to be a tough little venue for Miami of Florida to have to get in there and out with the win. It is, however, homecoming for SMU. What are you seeing for the line in this game, Greg?
The latest, actually, the line was, I saw it move up to 12.5. Let me see if it's still there. No, it's now back down to the original 10.5. So Miami at 10.5.
A double-digit home dog on homecoming. Those are generally pretty nice plays. Double-digit favorites on homecoming are completely the opposite. But anyway, that's the role SMU will dress up in this particular game. And you know me, I'm not a big Miami of Florida football fan.
Sure.
And I think Carson Beck is being exposed as the season wears on. We're slowly finding out why he played himself out of the starting position at Georgia, but he was a good boost in the arm, shot in the arm for Miami to begin the football season.
Yeah, I don't mind the dog play. I could see this game being a 1-score game, being a tough one for Miami, but to go all out, look, is it the worst idea in the world? No. If you want to take SMU into 3-1 money line, go for it. But that's what you're playing for. You're playing to end Miami's season. And I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. I do know that there's a game in the ACC that I do like as a dog. Now that you're looking for a dog, and that's the game that has taken place the latest, and it's the Wake Forest game. It's the same line, and I like Wake Forest. Now, of course, I took Stanford a couple of weeks ago as the 17-point home dog, and that came through fine colors, and we went over the reasons why. And this is the interesting thing, Mark, because the reasons were that their season was over. They couldn't win the ACC championship game. And, everything they've done in the offseason, the coaching, the winning that game against Alabama to kick off the season, they lost to Miami coming in. All of it was over. And when you do that nowadays in the transfer portal era, I think you're asking for trouble because there's a lot. It's not like the old days where that's okay. We lost this one. All right, we're not going to win a championship, but hey, we still have pride. We've got FSU pride. We're going to go out. We're going to have a good season. We're going to come back at them next year. It doesn't happen as much anymore now with the portal. A lot of the key guys aren't going to be here next year. They were paid money to win and to put you in position to win a championship. And they were there just a couple of weeks ago, and 2 weeks later, it's all over. And now the question is, well, they just lost to Stanford to prove it, and now they're coming home, and I'm supposed to forget all that and just jump right back on Florida State when Wake Forest has had a really good run right now.
I think Wake Forest is a real live, sneaky dog on the card this week, and a straight-up win is not going to surprise me at all. You've got a home dog here that's won 3 in a row, covered the spread all 3 games. You have a road favorite that's lost 4 in a row and failed to get the money in any of those 4 football games. Now, which one of those 2 teams do you feel is more interested in this game? It's got to be the guy that's on this roll right now with Wake Forest because they have a whole lot more to play for than Florida State. Mike Norvell, those days are gone for this football program here. I think Georgia Tech wins this game.
Wake Forest?
Wake Forest, I'm sorry. Yes, Wake Forest.
Yeah, Wake Forest, in their last 4 games, 3-1 straight up, 4-0 against the spread, and 4-0 outgaining their opponents. That's a heck of a run. And here's one of the top Playbook magazine spreads of the week, trends of the week. Wake Forest is 14-0-1 when they take on an opponent off consecutive losses.
Wow, there you go. Nice.
14-0-1. So if you just want to take the point spread and not the money line, obviously you can go ahead and do that because it's up to 10.5. And actually that line moved up from 7. That really surprised me. The line came out at 7 and now it's 10.5.
As Johnny Cochran would say, that all fits like a glove for Wake Forest.
And hopefully it comes out just the way it did for him.
Yes.
All right. So Big 12 conference, and you got 2 more undefeated teams, BYU and Cincinnati. You got to love the Big 12 since last year. We had Arizona State surprise everybody last year, and this year it could be either BYU or Cincinnati. BYU will be taking on Texas Tech next week. That'll be a monster game. Meanwhile, Cincinnati is at Utah, and Utah still probably believes, and look, there still may be a chance because this is the Big 12, that any team with 2 losses might still get a chance for the championship game if everybody just beats everybody up. And that is still, so don't think because BYU and Cincinnati are undefeated, they can't lose twice. They can. This is the Big 12, not the SEC. So because of that, I can understand a little bit why Utah's the favorite. They're a home team. They're a good team. But I'm just really surprised that line is ballooned up to 10. Cincinnati, as you remember, they were my sleeper team in the Big 12 this year. I gave Scott Satterfield the benefit of the doubt. Remember, this is the coach that started the Appalachian State dynasty in the FBS. This was when Appalachian State was upsetting all of those Power 4 teams in their early years of the FBS. I'm not talking about, of course, the Michigan, but the early days of when they were an FBS team, it was Scott Satterfield. He was the one that was the leading coach for Appalachian State, and then he parlayed that to a job at Louisville, and now he's at Cincinnati. So I think he's done a real good job with this team. He's got a really good quarterback, the kid Sorsby. really good dual threat. And again, I have no problem with Cincinnati being a 1-score dog at Utah, but 10 points, I think that's taking it a little extreme.
Yeah, you're what you're doing is you're acknowledging what Utah was expected to be, has come up short, has the potential to do just that, but you're still pricing them the same way. And you're not giving any credit or acknowledgement at all to what Cincinnati has done this football season here. 7 wins, 1 loss, undefeated in the conference. You look at their 8 games defensively, you weigh these two. Utah's defense is a little better, and their offense is just a smidge better, but I don't know if it's double-digit better. I think this is a bad line in this football game. I'm going to small lean here to Cincinnati here in the football contest. I don't see the upset, but I lean small there.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those really tough chances for Cincinnati to pull off an outright upset. I agree. I mean, I'm going to use them as a double-digit upset because why wouldn't I? They're the undefeated conference team in the Big 12 that's tied for the conference lead, and I'm getting 330 on the money line from that team. So I'm definitely going to take that. But yeah, this is one of those situations where like teams that are just not used to playing in Utah. They don't know the atmosphere. And Cincinnati's they're an East Coast team, kind of. And they're going all the way West Coast to take on, this team. It's the first time these teams have ever met. And they've got to go to Utah to do it. Dampier, the starting quarterback for Utah, did not play in the blowout win against Colorado, but he is supposed to play in the game this week. They went to a freshman quarterback by the name of Bird Ficklin against Colorado. All he did was 140, 2 touchdowns passing, 151, and a touchdown rushing. Not bad for a freshman quarterback. Looks like they've got their next quarterback when they move on from Dampier. Cincinnati, meanwhile, has covered both games this year as a dog. So that's the Big 12. And we talked about the Texas Tech Houston game. The Texas Tech game against Kansas State on the show yesterday. So if you want to find out more about what we said in that one, check that out. Okay. A little bit of group of 5 action because the American is the likely place where we're going to see a playoff team. I mentioned this on my show earlier this week that I thought that, look, next week was going to be a monster game, Memphis, Tulane. That was going to be a big one. And I thought Memphis was going to beat them. And I still think it's going to be Memphis and South Florida in the championship game. You're going to get a rematch. South Florida will beat Memphis, and I'll be exonerated. But that's kind of how the way I feel. It's going to still be South Florida, Memphis. And I thought that
what happened to Navy though along the way?
Yeah. So we're going to get to that. So, so Tulane, and I still thought there was a possibility we were going to get Tulane was going to lay an egg at some point, and they did it yesterday. So they got beat up last night at Texas San Antonio. So Jeff Traylor again does it as a home guy, as a home team. At home he's been in, I think 31-4 or something like that in his career at UTSA.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you know more than anybody, Mark, how good of a head coach he's been for that team, and he with all these job opportunities opening up now into Power 4, he's got to get a call from someone. And
I believe he will. They restructured his contract last year, but that doesn't mean that there's not enough money in the till for these schools to be able to take care of that and buy that out. I think for sure he'll be in the talks, in the mix.
Yeah, these buyouts don't even mean anything anymore. I mean, look at all these coaches that are getting bought out. Brian Kelly and James Franklin, they got enormous buyouts, and they don't care.
You know what they call that, Greg?
What do they call that?
They call that the cost of doing business.
That is right. Especially nowadays, we got all these boosters throwing all this money at these players. It's like, oh, you want me to fire them? Well, are you going to ante up? I'll fire the guy, but you're going to ante up. And they'll go, yeah, I will ante up. I'll give you the money. I'll give you half the money to buy out the guy. Because this is what it is. I mean, all these guys, they're millionaires. They're billionaires. These are the ones that are really making the decisions now in college football. So now we get to Navy. And Navy is the undefeated team left in the conference, and they're at North Texas. North Texas is sitting there like Tulane and Temple at 3-1, and South Florida and Memphis. So these the problem though is Mark, is that Navy's schedule in the last part of the season is really, really difficult. After the North Texas game, they're going to be at Notre Dame, which of course is not a conference game. Then they're going to host South Florida. Then they're going to go to Memphis, and then they're going to host Army, or they're going to play Army. So their next 5 games are going to be games which they could possibly lose all of them. And I just can't imagine that in their next 4 conference games that they're going to be able to win 3 of them. So, and this is one of them, but I think that if they're going to, I think obviously this is the one that I think that they might have the better chance, only because of the fact that they're still undefeated. They're an undefeated dog on the road. And they're getting, think about 2-1 on the money line. So I actually am going to take Navy in this one. But it's going to be real interesting to find out just how good Navy is on Saturday.
Well, that's not exactly 4 layups, as you mentioned, that Navy has coming up. It's going to be real difficult. So you've got to look at who's in front of you right now here today and not look forward on your schedule. Just take care of business one game at a time. So they go into North Texas in this football game. They meet our list of what we call putting on the stats. And they're a football team. To be a putting on the stats team, you have had to beat every team you played in the yardage, in the stats, every time or all but one time. You take those teams into the month of November, and if they dog up, that they puppy up, you play on them, and they're really solid plays. Navy checks that box in this football contest here. So a little bit of a little bit of disrespect, if you will, in that sense. You've also got the point that undefeated military teams that are on the road taking on opponents that defense is allowing 24 or more points a game. They're 28-10 against the spread. 11-0 when they're coming off a conference game. I'm going to play Navy in this football game here. I know, like you mentioned, they realized they've got a tough gauntlet coming up. One game at a time for Navy. Give me the points in this contest.
Yeah, and again, the reason why I think this is their best chance, including, you might say, well, wouldn't they have a better chance against South Florida Army at home? And again, when you're undefeated, you've got all this belief in the world that you can beat anybody. You're confident, you go into a schedule and let's say they lose to North Texas and then they get obliterated by Notre Dame. Well, just imagine how they're going to feel when they take on South Florida in a couple of weeks at home. Their confidence can be shot compared to where it is right now. Right. And that's why I think now's the time to take them and to believe in them, that maybe they could just go one more game before they do lose to South Florida at home in a couple of weeks. But yeah, this schedule is as tough as it's going to get for any team that is in contention for a conference championship. But hey, you know what? They're 2-1 on the money line. It's the same reasoning that I had with Cincinnati, taking them on the money line. Navy's undefeated. Cincinnati's undefeated in their conference. I think that's no brainers if you're looking for upset possibilities. And one example also from North Texas, they played a military team already in Army. They beat them in overtime at Army. They lost the yardage by 10, and Army is not as good as Navy. I think we've seen that this season. Right. Also keep in mind, North Texas beat Western Michigan in overtime. They were a heavy favorite in that game, and Western Michigan's a good MAC team, but still, that's a game most people expected them to win easy. And they also, on the flip side, I think what really gets people excited about North Texas is that their offense can be so high powering. They've had big wins. They've had a 49-point win and a 38-point win. Matter of fact, they had a 38-point win against Texas San Antonio, who just beat up on Tulane. And they had a 49-point win, believe it or not, I think it was week 2 this season, to Washington State. And we all know how good Washington State is now. So that shows you North Texas, they got this kid Mestamaker, this quarterback, first-time starting quarterback. The kid is the real deal. They got an explosive offense. But I expect this to be a very exciting, high-scoring game. Probably go back and forth. And that's why the line's as big as it is. Look at it, 65.5 on the total mark.
Yeah, it's a big number, but Greg, like they say, it's there for a reason.
That's right. Okay. And then just rounding it out, Mountain West, you take a look there, and you got the 2 teams who could end up playing in the championship game, even though it all depends, because these 2 teams are going to be playing each other, I believe, in a couple of weeks. I've been just loving the season from Sean Lewis and the Aztecs. They've been a really great money play for me this season. They're 3-0 straight up, 2-0 against the spread at home by a 121-24 margin with 2 shutouts. They got 3 shutouts on the season. That shows you how good their defense has been. They're taking on Wyoming this week. Boise State takes on Fresno. And then Hawaii also plays a big game this week against San Jose State. And Hawaii is actually the dog in that one. San Jose State's had a disappointing season. I actually like Hawaii in that game. This has been clearly Timmy Chang's best team. They've outgained 7 of their 8 opponents this year, Mark. The Hawaii Rainbow Warriors.
They're putting on the stats this week.
Yeah.
A dog with all those check marks, yes.
And they've outgained all 4 of their Mountain West Conference opponents as well. So that's in the game against San Jose State. So there's still a lot of good football left in the Mountain West Conference. And we'll find out if San Diego State, who will be at Hawaii next week, and then we'll be hosting Boise State the week after that. So we're going to find out who are the top teams for sure. And I actually think New Mexico might be able to pull off the minor upset against UNLV on Saturday as well. New Mexico's had themselves a nice little season with their new head coach.
And I think UNLV is going backwards right now too.
That's the Mountain West. And then finally in the Sun Belt, James Madison is clearly shown, especially after destroying Texas State the other day. They're the cream of the crop in this conference. They should have no problem beating whoever they're going to play in the championship game from the West and the Sun Belt. And the question's going to be, Mark, if James Madison just destroys the rest of their opponents and they sit there with loss, it's going to be whether or not those American teams wind up beating each other up and maybe, piling up some more losses to make their record look a little bit more impressive. Because let's say if Memphis or South Florida were to not lose the rest of the season, then that team will definitely represent the group of 5 in the playoffs. But let's say they beat each other up. Then I guess the question will be, do you give it to James Madison, or do you even think about Boise State if Boise State runs the table, considering Boise State lost that game to South Florida to open the season?
I give it to James Madison, Greg. They've only got 1 loss on the year. That was against Louisville, who's highly ranked. They've held each of their last 3 opponents to season-low yards, 4 or 5 overall in the season. They are indeed the king bear of the conference to beat, no question about it here. And they've been around the block before. They've done just this. I think James Madison would get my vote.
Yeah, the way they're playing, too. They're just dialing on all cylinders at this point in time. And we'll see if they can close it out. But still a lot of good football left in these matchups to determine which is the team that will represent the group of 5 in the playoffs. To wrap it up, upset-wise, again, I'm going to go with Navy and Florida as the 2 single-digit upsets. Double-digit upsets, I've already mentioned Wake Forest and Cincinnati. And I'm also going to throw in, I know it's probably, again, every time we get to these really high ones, it can make you look stupid, but I'm going to go with Penn State. I'm going to go with Rutgers getting 13 from Illinois. That's a big money line at Illinois. And I'm taking ULM against Old Dominion. I don't like the way Old Dominion's been playing. I think that they know they're out of it too. That their season's basically just about going to a bowl. Louisiana Monroe needs to win to go bowling. They still have something to play for, and that's a big point spread. I think it was 16, so they're getting a big money line number as well. And that's what this is all about. Remember, when we talk about taking double-digit picks, it's not like, I think Penn State's beating Ohio State. It's not about that. It's a numbers game. You try to put the best possible teams that you think have a reason why they could pull off these upsets, and you get 3, 4, 5 of them. And hey, if you can hit 1 or 2, you're making good money. And you hit 1 and you can kind of get your money back for all of the investment you put into it. And that's really what it's about. Mark, do you have any double-digit
I'll
upsets?
give you a single and a double-digit dog here that I like. A single-digit dog is going to be Hawaii. We talked about them earlier.
Okay.
All the reasons we talked about. They're really, really good defensively. They're one of only 2 teams in the country that brought 17 starters back each of the last 2 years in a row. Very experienced. And They have 35-0 loss revenge on their mind going into this game. They will come to play here.
Nice.
The double-digit dog I'm going to give is a bit of a surprise. Is going to be South Carolina over Ole Miss. I'm not giving up on South Carolina just yet. They were a lot highly touted football team. Lenora Sellers struggled early on. Ole Miss, I think, is a little bit choppy right now, and I think South Carolina is an opportune spot to pull the surprise of the day in college football on Saturday.
Okay. Hey, I like that. I'll put a few bucks on South Carolina. I had no feeling on the game. So since you have a little feeling there, I'll definitely go for South Carolina. They have to win 3 out of their last 4 for bowl eligibility. And yeah, just remember, 3 minutes to go in the game last week. They had an 8-point lead on Alabama.
Yep.
And they end up losing the game in regulation. Watching South Carolina and Mississippi State blow those leads last week was so demoralizing. You know, when you're like rooting for upsets and things like that, it's like, come on, guys, what are you doing? I mean, how Mississippi State, they were up 3 scores in the 4th quarter and couldn't take out Texas in regulation. So
that's kind of what teams that haven't been there before do, Greg. They just don't find ways to win games.
That's it. Yep. And Lane Kiffin is always good for a loss that you don't expect. So maybe this is it.
Exactly.
380 on the money line. Mark, appreciate it as always. That's going to wrap up the week here on ProLine TV for football. I'll be back tomorrow for one last look at NASCAR qualifying after Phoenix. It's the Championship 4 race on Sunday. Then that'll be it for NASCAR this season. Also, make sure to check out our Breeders' Cup talk with John Hardoon. We handicapped, I believe it was as much as either 5 or 6 races. Now, we did 3 full field analysis and picks, but John gave an additional several picks. So you might want to check that out if you're into Breeders' Cup horse racing, which is actually going on right now at Del Mar. The Breeders' Cup, this is Juvenile Day. Tomorrow's the big day with the Classic and everything. So if you're into horse racing, check that out. But again, I'll be I'm going to we'll have the recording of the video. Jim has the video with Victor King. Victor's weekly totals video is going to be out. So I'm probably going to put it up in about a couple hours. So you can check that out right here on ProLine TV.
Terrific.
The NASCAR show is tomorrow, and then we do it all over again next week, Mark.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it, Greg. I'm really looking forward to this weekend here. I think we got a lot of excitement in college football, and I think there'll be a surprise or two in the NFL this week as well.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. Again, thanks everybody for checking in with us. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, all that good stuff. Check out the links in the description of this video. You might want to find the newsletter link as well at Playbook Sports. And of course, you can't do without that. If you're a serious handicapper and you're looking at the games this week, for all the insight possible. That's why you can just check us out here at ProLine TV. We're going to give it to you every week in both the pro and college football ranks. For Mark Lawrence, I'm Greg DePalma. We'll see you next time right here on ProLine